back.
Say hello.
Hello. Hello, welcome back to episode 12, I think we're on, of MTN Sunday Roast. Today there is 3 of us here, which is more than last week because there was just me.
Best friends ever.
So, today we wanted to discuss what we believe are the 3 biggest things that differentiate our clients that are getting results or that have got results in the past versus the clients that perhaps haven't got results or that aren't currently getting results. These are the 3 biggest things. There's probably some other things that intertwine with these and that come from these, but these are the 3 that we've kind of pinpointed to being the most important. So Dale's going to kick us off with number 1.
Number 1, I'd say, would be realistic timeframes. I think the biggest problem a lot of people will have is they'll go, right, I've got a holiday in 6 weeks, and I get in shape, and you think you're going to get life-changing results in 6 weeks. It's just not going to happen. You have to have a big enough time frame to give yourself a decent amount of time to lose a decent amount of weight, depending on your starting point especially.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't take into consideration if they're coming and they're completely untrained, they've never trained, and they've maybe seen results that we've posted in the past. A lot of these results stem from somebody that's went through a higher calorie phase, a lower calorie phase, maybe another higher calorie phase, and then their final lower calorie phase type thing. A lot of these people work with us for, up to a year sometimes before they get that, unbelievable change. Now, that's not to say that some people don't see unbelievable changes in 6 weeks. That's what we're kind of getting at. You need to create a realistic expectation for you specifically. Some people will see change in 6 weeks, but the sort of change that they probably want to see is more like 12 to 20 weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty much why we've done away with the 8-week block, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people were signing up for the 8-week block with the intention of only doing 8 weeks, and we weren't getting enough time with that client to get them a really good result for us and a really good result for them, and they weren't willing to commit to much longer, so they were just falling through the traps, and we wanted more clients, like good quality clients that were committed long term to actually getting the results. And we just decided, most coaches do, 12 weeks is generally the best amount of time to make a significant change at least, anyway. And then beyond that, as you said, like a lot of clients are working with us 20-week fat loss results, 24-week fat loss results. It depends on their starting point and the aggression that we put them.
Realistically, I think a lot of people will have generally like 10 weeks of hard work. I think initially of a 12-week block, the first 2 weeks generally
the exact same thing.
are like feeling it out, like, alright, I didn't really get that, or missed a wee bit of like the tracking, steps weren't quite right, try to get a feel for how that client's body's responding to what you're giving them. And then generally it is like 10 weeks of hard work there, but 2 weeks is like finding your feet essentially.
That's what coaching is, isn't it? Like, that's actually what direct coaching is. It's giving somebody 1 to 3 weeks and going like, is this working? Because there's only so much we can get from progress photos and a health and lifestyle questionnaire and a little bit of feedback initially. You do need consistent, constant feedback and data from check-ins. You need to see their weight, you need to see pictures, you need to see all these things consistently in order to go, right, this is working or this isn't working, and then make a longer term plan of action surrounding that.
I mean, how many times have you seen it? Like, certain clients, they do their first week and they drop 5 pounds, which isn't realistic for fat loss for 1 week for anybody. And then you've got people that do the first week and they gain a pound and they panic and they're like, oh, this must not be working. And like, generally, I don't know about you, but I never change it. I'm like, it's the first week, your body's not quite used to this, we're doing a lot of things differently from what you were doing now. Let's give it another week to see how it goes. More often than not, either it tells you think changes need to be made, or actually we got it right the first time anyway, because it's 2 weeks that we need, really, isn't it?
I think 2 weeks is the perfect time frame, to be honest, for them to actually stick to it for long enough to see what might need changed. So if you are, like you covered this a minute ago, if you've just started working with us, or maybe you're working with another coach and you're like a week in or even 2 weeks and you're like, I'm not seeing change, to be honest, most people shouldn't expect to see much change within 2 weeks. You might feel higher energy, you might feel a little bit healthier and better in the mindset and things like that, but actual physical changes, most people, unless they're starting off really lean already, aren't going to see like physical changes in photos 2 weeks apart.
I was actually like going slightly off topic here, but I was actually speaking to Heather about this the other day, about how frequently should you take progress pictures, and she was actually saying she was getting a lot of her clients to do them weekly, and I was like, well, I would actually make it individual to the client, because if somebody is starting and they've got 30 pounds to lose and you send the pictures, and that might be a really big deal for that person to strip down into their underwear and send that to somebody else. It's quite a vulnerable position for somebody who maybe isn't that confident to do that, and then you ask them to do it weekly and then they're comparing and they're not seeing any change. That could be the thing that goes, I don't know if this is for me. Whereas if you go, give that person that 4 weeks, you've maybe lost £10 and you're like, well, even if we don't see a big change, we'll be able to pinpoint a few things that's going to build their confidence a little bit, and they know that the actual kind of fear of having to take progress pictures was worth it because they're now feeling better about themselves. I think that's another thing in terms
Such
of
a valid point, yeah.
I think the starting point is massive. I think that you mentioned that there about like you have to understand realistically where your starting point is. If you're someone who's got £50 to lose, that you're not going to lose all of that in 12 weeks. Like it's not going to happen, and I think any good coach will explain that to you, especially like this has to be a long-term process, and when it comes to realistic expectations, the main purpose for me anyway, when I've got a long-term client, is getting them bought into the process and starting to actually enjoy certain aspect of things and not getting too hung up on like what the scale is essentially saying. The scale's definitely the best indicator for someone who has got a lot of weight to lose, but trying to enjoy the process of what we're doing, enjoying our training a little bit more, enjoying getting out, getting some walks in, enjoying like getting more structure and having that as the kind of main focus, along with of course training and nutrition, but just having that realistic expectation of like, how far you've actually to go, and just get in that headspace of like, this is going to take me a bit of a long time, but don't think about too far down the line. Don't think about, oh right, this is going to take me a year and a half to lose all this weight. Just think about, right, where can I get in the next 4 weeks? Let's set a small goal, get there, and then move on.
There are benefits to the short term ones as well. Like if we run like the Fat Loss Project, which is 8 weeks for instance, 9 times out of 10 the people that are joining up to that aren't going to have the dream result in their head at the end of it. Some of them will, of course, so we've had some like amazing results through it, but a lot of them have then built the habits, they've changed their lifestyles, they've spent enough time to actually like solidify those good routines to carry it forward, but also in 8 weeks made some serious physical change that makes them a bit hungry for more to continue doing these sort of things. But when it comes to actually getting the end result, there's probably a very select few people that could get the ultimate result that they want in like between 6 and 8 weeks. It would be like people like us, for instance, who train year round and we just maybe gain a bit of body fat. We just need probably a bit of time to strip that back. But somebody who has maybe taken a long time off training or they've never trained before, it's going to take a bit longer.
Super basic way to look at this is the less experience you have, generally the longer it's going to take you for a fat loss result. The more experience you have, generally the shorter time frame it's going to take you. Again, those are general statements, but like Ryan mentioned there, we are going to be able to achieve a fat loss result at like an incredible before and after in 12 weeks, and maybe 8 weeks, and 9 weeks, maybe 16 weeks for me. But generally if someone comes to us and like they said they've got 50, 60, 70 pounds to lose, it's going to take a little bit longer. So just to round up on that one. Number 2, I think this is the biggest one, because a lot of them kind of feed into this, but having your weekends look the same as your weekdays. The clients that I see make the most incredible changes and have the best possible results, they treat every day of the week like it's the same day of the week. That's not to say they don't enjoy the weekend, like they're not miserable, but they track their calories still at the weekend. They still train if they've got sessions to do at the weekend. They still hit their steps, they still get enough water, they still take their supplements, they still get up at the same time roughly, they still go to bed at the same time roughly. The people that treat the weekends the total opposite way of that, they're missing out on 2 out of 5 days a week. That's 20, I've done a post on it this morning, it's 28.6% of your week. It's a huge amount of your week if you're doing that every week
You would figure that out.
For 12 weeks. Only because I used it for a post. I think it's a common fact, loads of PTs actually posting it.
Everybody says different percentages though, don't they? Because it's like some people include the Friday, some people don't include the Friday.
So this was just Saturday and Sunday, so it's about 28%, something like that. But if you look at that being across even like a 12-week block, if you look at 30% of that or 28% of that, that's you missing out on 4 weeks, I think. That's you almost missing out on a full month. So it's basically like you signing up, paying for 12 weeks with us, and you're basically really only doing 8 weeks of that. You're missing out on a full month, which one is a complete waste of money, but two is a complete waste of your time. So big things is making your weekends look the same as your weekends.
It is the hardest thing about any fat loss goal. Like, the weekend is the most challenging thing that you have. Everything that you're doing, I actually seen like a reel on Instagram, and it was like back in the day where Muhammad Ali was getting interviewed, like the greatest fighter of all time, and he asked like, what's the toughest part about your training regime? What is the hardest thing? Is it hitting the pads? Is it running? Is it the sparring? And he's like, the weekends. He's like, no going out with my friends at the weekend, and staying away from parties at night, staying away from women at the weekend, like being in my bed at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday. That's the hardest part. And it's so like pure collect is like if the greatest fighter it's ever been is
That's
telling
what he
you that,
struggles with,
and he's struggling with that, you bet your bottom dollar if you're trying to lose a little bit of
You're
fat,
gonna
that's
struggle.
going to be the biggest thing you'll struggle with.
Yeah.
It's restriction, isn't it? Nobody likes restriction, I suppose. Like if you're living your life a certain way and it's got you to a point where you're not happy, that has to change though. And a lot of that comes from the habits that you do at the weekend. 9 out of 10 clients that I take on, it's not necessarily, well, maybe not 9 out of 10, right? I mean, let's say 7 out of 10, right? It's not necessarily that their habits are bad all the time. It is the fact that they overdo the weekends all the time. So maybe they do, like, no, I'm actually not too bad. It's the common thing. I actually eat relatively healthy. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you eat too little calories, but at the same time, a lot of people think, well, I'm not too bad during the week. It's the weekends. I'm a binge drinker. I love a takeaway at the weekend, etc., etc. I mean, now that we've actually got that law in place where companies, like bigger chain food companies, need to put their calories on their websites and stuff like that, it's a fucking eye opener.
Yeah.
Like some of the meals you're like that, I just thought, well, that's quite a small meal, like max 700 calories, 1500 calories. It's pretty much double what you think it's going to be. So if you're eating double the calories that you think you're eating, well,
one day
that's going to be an issue. That's going to catch up on you, isn't it?
It's almost like every one day at the weekend accounts for like 3 of your days that you can absolutely smash. Do you know what I mean? So if you're having 2 off track days, it's kind of like having 6. You need 6 perfect days to make up for that.
So therefore you're in a surplus then, because you're only getting 5 good days.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? So that's why people are.
Escapism for a lot of people, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like this isn't as like shaming or guilt tripping. We're the exact same. Like it's the exact same thing. I'm going out during the day today. It's the exact same thing for us. It's just when you've got a specific goal with a set time frame and you're committed to achieve it, something needs to change, because like Ryan said there, what you've been doing in the past didn't get you there, and usually what you've been doing in the past is getting drunk at the weekend, eating out 2 or 3 times, and then nailing it Monday to Friday. That's not working. So what do you need to do to change that? And altering your weekends is one of not the simplest, it's one of the simplest ideas, I suppose, to change.
Yeah, it's the simplest. It's just not easy,
Yes.
because like you're missing out on the things that you maybe enjoy or you perceive to be enjoying at that moment in time. But quite often, a lot of people actually, like my client Billy that was just in there, he literally loves his new lifestyle. He literally loves the fact that he's like, I'm not waking up feeling shit on Monday. He loves the fact that he's like, he never went to the gym. Like I used to run with him for years, a very, very fit guy, and then he just stopped. And then all of a sudden he's back into the gym and he loves it. He's like, oh shit man, I'm going away on this work thing for 2 days, and I'm the company policy, I can't get a gym included in my hotel. And he's like worried about that because he's going to miss sessions. It's almost like it's flipped on its head now. But it's like some people, it's like they think they enjoy that until they try something else.
That's it. See when it comes to like that aspect of missing the weekends and staying on track, the biggest thing is that people don't give it enough time to see the reward of it.
Yeah.
So when you're like, you stay on one weekend, you're like, that was brutal. You wake up, there's zero change. You're like, scale weight's not moved that much. You don't see much change in your body. You're like, right, I feel a bit fresh on Sunday. That's great. Next weekend, a bit easier. Third weekend after that. See if you get like 4 weekends underneath your belt where you're not going out and you're drinking, and you're staying on track, and you start to see things move. You're like, right, this is what I'm meant to feel like on a Monday morning, and not feeling like absolute dog shit, and that you're seeing things change. It's that once you put the sacrifice in for that few weeks and you start to see the reward of that, that's when it becomes a little bit easier. You just need to bide yourself that some time.
Well, my life obviously changed when I had Hallie, and like I used to go out all the time, and now like I don't go out that much because it's hard, because I need to arrange a babysitter and all the rest of it. So it's like I don't not go out through choice. I go out because I've got more responsibilities and stuff like that now, so my lifestyle was changed for me. But at the same time, I now like look forward to a weekend where I can just, like, we work all week, we're really busy, I look forward to just being able to relax a wee bit. I'll just go and get my steps, I'll get a wee session in, but I've just got more time for me. And then obviously, like, when I actually go out, like tonight, like I'm going to enjoy it, I'm looking forward to it. Whereas when you're going out at the weekend, you're like, I don't know if I can be arsed with that hangover on Monday, but I've said I'll go. So you just end up like in that thing where you don't want to let people down, but it's actually against everything you want at that moment in time.
You've changed your beliefs, and I think that's the biggest thing. Again, what I've done more recently since I've stopped actually drinking is changed my belief of like, well, I enjoy drinking at the weekend, it helps me de-stress. I've just changed that to go, well, I enjoy other things at the weekend that also help me de-stress, that don't leave me rough on a Sunday, and don't leave me having zero willpower on a Sunday. So it is kind of changing your beliefs, and that's not an easy thing to do. Like, that takes a lot of time and effort, and anyone that's trying to change their beliefs is going to regress, and they're going to go back to doing what they were going to do. But you kind of learn from every regression when you then get back on track. So it is kind of a case of like try and fail and learn, try and fail and learning. You're not going to just completely stay off, you know, going out for food and drinking every single weekend. But
try to find some other enjoyment. It doesn't involve food and drink.
Yeah.
Like, generally
It's
that's what it is.
literally just moderation, isn't it? Like I would never expect my client to sign up with me for 12 weeks, which is 3 months, which is a quarter of a year, and have nothing on within that time frame. No drinking out, no eating out. Like I think that's unrealistic for somebody who's quite sociable. So it's like, right, well, let's just choose your battles. Literally, we can do these things, but it's just like it's just planning.
I think that's what's good about having a coach. It's about learning and how you can overcome that with your coach, which moves us on perfectly to point number 3.
Aha.
Consistent communication with your coach. I think like we would all agree that our best results come from our clients who are most frequently in contact with us, and they're usually most frequently in contact with you because they're most invested in the journey, and they can't wait to tell you what they've done that day, can't wait to tell you I've had a PB, can't wait to tell you this, I've really struggled with this, because they actually care when they fuck up as well, so they want to tell you because they want to do something about it. So generally communication, without even you having to push for it, the best results come from the people with the most communication, because they're the people that care the most about the result ultimately. Don't get me wrong, there's a few outliers in this situation. Some people just like to just get on with it, and they're like, you're like, I've not heard for this person, they must have fell off the wagon, and then they send you and it's just been like perfect, and you're like,
those are the funniest results, aren't they? Like, you've not heard from this person, like all they do, they check on a Friday and they just don't speak to you out with that, and then 12 weeks later they send you this wild photo and you're like, fuck, so you do it.
Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. See you next 12 weeks.
You definitely get the odd person like that. Some people aren't as, do you know what I mean? We're all really good communicators, as in like how much time we spend on our phone. Some people aren't like that. They don't want to sit and WhatsApp you. They want to fill in their check-in, be told what to do, and get on with it. But I would say that's a very small percentage. The vast majority of the best results come from people that are like on the ball with communication, phone you when they need you. You've got a Loom, or you've got a Zoom, you've got a FaceTime, you've got whatever.
I can't think of a single result that I've had from somebody that has consistently over a period of time filled their check-in late. Not messaged me back for like 3 days after I've sent them their check-in. I can't think of any of those people that have ever had results. We've got to a point where they've been close, they've had a short run, fallen off it again, because they're not invested enough. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, communication's one thing, but like it always comes back to, and it's the old cliche, like kind of cheesy saying of what's your why. And I think some people sign up off the back of seeing somebody else's result, not knowing why they want it. And it's like a lot of these people that get these results have a clear idea and vision in their head of what they want to achieve and what benefits that's going to bring to their life. So they're so invested in the actual coaching, but they're so invested in you as the person they've chose to be their coach, that they want to speak to you all the time because you get this big.
You also have the other side of that as well, though. I think that people put so much pressure on themselves to be like so good, when they then fuck up, it's like, I don't want to tell them. I literally had a few check-ins this week saying, oh, my week's been terrible, I've not checked in. I says, these are the sort of weeks that you need to check in. If you're fucking up, that's where you learn. You're not here to turn up every single week, give me a check-in that's absolutely perfect so you can get a wee gold star at the end of it. You're here to learn, and you're here to...
Are you giving out gold stars? Have you started doing that?
That's why my retention rate's so high. But you...
Sorry, I couldn't.
Heather on the table. Lost my train of thought now.
Nah. To be
No, that's it. So if you fuck up, make sure that you're still checking in, because that is probably the most important check-ins that you'll have. Try not put to. We're here to help. Like when you have a coach, your coach is generally there to help. They're not to give you into trouble or give you a hard time unless you're working with Ryan. But it's
they say this, right? I don't give my clients it's stinking. I just tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I think a lot of people kind of dance round the hedges, and it's like, just tell them what they need to hear.
I was only joking, mate.
No, I know, but it's a good point. So we're going to run with it. But it's one of those things where, like, if you say to somebody, okay, right, you've done a few things here, but they could have been a little bit better. Well, that's the most general fucking sentence I've ever heard. Be specific with that person. Right, this wasn't very good. Here's what you need to do. Implement it. Talk to me, text me every single day and tell me and send me a screenshot of what your calories are at the end of the day. It's just like getting, like, zoning in on that client so that then they feel like he actually is giving me he obviously cares because he wants to hear from me every single day. If somebody was just like a pet, like a lot of clients don't want to message you too frequently, so like, I don't want to bother you, I see that you spend time with your wee girl and blah blah blah. I'm like, this is my job.
Yeah.
My job is to be messaged by you or me message you. It's communication. That's the bulk of my job. Message me, otherwise I think you fell off the wagon or I think you're disinterested. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I think what we find anyway is that the most successful clients, it's not like we message them every single day from the start of the block to the end of the block or to the end of the time. It's usually quite an intense period of communication, 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
When they're struggling and then they're like, oh shit, I actually get this now. So it's like, it's not as if we need, a WhatsApp every single day for 12 weeks. It's sometimes that intense 2 or 3 week period. Cool, you're actually nailing it now. And then maybe 6 weeks down the line, you're starting to kind of take your foot off the gas. So I think we need to up that communication again. So and again, if a client is doing extremely well, we don't actually need that same level of communication all the time. So
some of the times the check-ins that you've a client is smashed at the park for 6 weeks, you go smashed it again, mate. Nothing needs to change. Calories are working great, movement's great, intensity's great. Keep doing what you're doing. Like we don't need to change anything. Like it's perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think also like a good coach as well will communicate, almost mirror the communication that particular client needs, isn't it? Like there are certain clients that if you went like that to somebody, this isn't good enough, they would just think, I can't do this. Do you know what I mean? So they sometimes need a bit of a build up. It's almost like the shit sandwich. They need something good, something shit in the middle, and then something finishing on a positive. Some people just need, this is what you need to do. It's like communication is just so important, but if a coach isn't getting that from the client, then he's not able to do his job, she's not able to do her job. You need that feedback from that person in order to tell them, here's the things you now need to implement. Because if something's not working and you're not telling somebody, the person that's supposed to be coaching you and feeding you the right information, that it's not working, then we're just going to keep giving you the same shit that's not working.
So to round up, if you are either struggling to get results or you are like dying to get the best result you've ever had, you need to look at these 3 things. You need to set yourself a realistic time frame. You need to treat your weekends the same as midweek, and you need to communicate directly with your coach or clearly with your coach. If you're not working with a coach, you need to have some form of accountability, whether that's to yourself or a friend or a family member, whatever that is.
Yeah. If you're not working with a coach, we're MTN coaching.
And Ryan's Phil, so